When you hear the name John Wayne Gacy, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For most of us, it's that terrifying image, right? The killer clown. But that was just a mask, a really, really effective one. So in this explainer, we're going to peel back that mask. We're going to look at the man everyone thought they knew and the absolute monster he was hiding just beneath the surface. And you know what's really chilling? Gacy himself knew exactly what he was doing. He actually said this to cops who were tailing him. This was way into his killing spree, but before they had enough to catch him. You know, clowns can get away with murder. I mean, talk about a confession hiding in plain sight. It just perfectly sums up the twisted double life he was leading. So the big question is, how did he do it? How did he get away with it for so long? Well, to even begin to understand that, you have to see him the way his neighbors saw him. This wasn't some weirdo hiding in a creepy house on the edge of town. No, he was right there in the middle of everything. A successful, active, and by all accounts, a totally normal guy. I mean, just look at his resume. He had his own contracting business, PDM Contractors, which right there gave him access to all these young guys looking for a job. He was a precinct captain for the Democratic Party, so he had political connections. And then there's the clown thing. He volunteered as Pogo the Clown at kids' parties and charity events. He was so respected, he even got his picture taken with the First Lady, Rosalind Carter, in 1978. To everyone around him, he was the definition of a pillar of the community. Now, to be crystal clear, nothing can ever excuse what Gacy did, nothing. But to understand how a person becomes a monster like this, we do have to look back at where he came from. In his childhood, it was a complete and utter nightmare. We're talking constant abuse, physical, sexual, psychological, mostly from his own father, who was a violent alcoholic. It really was non-stop. His dad, John Sr., would beat him with a leather strap for the tiniest things.
Then he was abused by a friend of the family and his mother in this just unbelievably bizarre form of punishment, would shame him by making him wear her underwear. Can you imagine the kind of confusion and humiliation that creates in a kid? This was the toxic, violent world that shaped him.
So, to get away from his father's rage, Gacy actually built himself a little hideout under the family's porch. In this act of hiding, of burying things just under the surface where no one can see, it became this dark fascination for him. A fascination that would later play out in the most horrific way imaginable. Okay, so that's the public face. But behind that perfectly built facade, something absolutely horrific was happening. Gacy was hunting, preying on young men and boys. And what's maybe just as shocking is how the system failed over and over again to stop him, even when a victim managed to get away and tell the police everything. Let's talk about one of those failures because it's just unbelievable. It's the story of Jeffrey Rignall. In March of '78, this 26-year-old guy was abducted by Gacy and went through an absolute night of horror. But somehow, miraculously, he survived. And the very first thing he did was go straight to the police, thinking, okay, this nightmare is over, they'll get this guy. So Rignall tells them everything, I mean every horrible detail. He even gives them Gacy's license plate number. You'd think that's an open and shut case, right? Nope. The response he got was just nothing. They completely dismissed him. Why? Well, because Rignall was gay, and back then the police just didn't see him as a credible victim. They basically called him crazy and sent him away. They wouldn't press charges against the well-connected, respected John Gacy. Think about that. Because of that one awful failure, a serial killer was just allowed to walk free and keep on killing. And that brings us to 8213 West Somerdale Avenue. From the outside, just a totally normal suburban house, a place where he lived with his mom and later his wife.
But inside, and especially underneath, this is where that dark fascination with hiding things became a horrifying reality. His method was just so tragically simple. He'd use his contracting business as bait. He'd find young guys, teenagers who were looking for work, and offer them a job. He'd bring them back to his house. and that's where it would all happen. He'd overpower them, torture them, and kill them. His legitimate, respectable business was actually his hunting ground. The sheer scale of what they found is just hard to even process. Underneath that house, in a tiny, disgusting crawl space, police found the bodies of 29 victims. And here's the thing. When he ran out of room down there, he didn't stop. He just found a new dumping ground. He started throwing bodies into the Des Plaines River. They found at least 4 more victims there. So you add it all up, and you get a confirmed victim count of at least 33. 33 young men and boys. It's one of the worst serial killing sprees in the history of the United States. So after all this time, all these victims, all these missed chances, what was it that finally brought him down? Well, it all came down to the disappearance of one 15-year-old boy, which would finally pull the thread that unraveled everything. His name was Robert Piest, just a good kid, an honor roll student working at a pharmacy. On December 11, 1978, he told his mom he was just stepping out for a minute to talk to a contractor about a summer job. That contractor, of course, was John Gacy, and Robert Piest never came home. But this time, it was different. Unlike so many of the other victims, Robert's disappearance was taken seriously right away. The police immediately started investigating Gacy. They dug into his past and found that old sex crime conviction from Iowa. That was enough. They got a search warrant for the house on Summerdale Avenue, and the second they walked in, they knew. They were hit with this unbelievable smell of death coming up from the floors. The whole secret was out. And just like that, the image of John Wayne Gacy, pillar of the community, was completely destroyed, gone. What came next was a trial that would shock the nation, laying bare not just what he did, but the fact that he felt absolutely no remorse for any of it.
So at trial, Gacy's defense went with an insanity plea. They actually invented this alternate personality they called Bad Jack and tried to claim he was the one who did the murders. But the prosecution just tore that argument apart. They were like, an insane person doesn't meticulously hide 29 bodies in their crawl space for years. And the jury agreed. They weren't buying it for a second. It took them less than 2 hours to come back with a guilty verdict on every single charge. When it came to sentencing, the jury handed down 12 death sentences for the worst of the murders, plus life sentences for the other 21. The message was clear. For what he did, John Wayne Gacy was going to pay the ultimate price. So after 14 years on death row, on May 10, 1994, it was time. Gacy was executed by lethal injection. And his last words? No apology, no moment of reflection. He looked at the warden and said, "Kiss my ass." Just pure defiance right to the bitter end. A final middle finger from a man who never, ever admitted he was responsible for anything. And so the whole horrifying story of John Wayne Gacy leaves us with this really chilling question. He wasn't some obvious monster. He was the guy next door, the friendly volunteer, the man shaking hands with the First Lady. His story is this terrifying reminder that you never really know what's going on behind the mask, or what kind of darkness can be hiding right there in plain sight.